Mel, what can you tell us about your project, Passion of the Christ Resurrection?
Yeah, I can say things about it. Yeah, it's in the works. It's very difficult.
Many audiences are eagerly anticipating Mel Gibson's return with the resurrection of the Christ. Today, we will explore one aspect that draws particular interest, the film's new cast. In this article, we will look closely at the actors chosen for the resurrection, examining their lives, their careers, and the paths that led them to become part of this project. Without further introduction, let us begin by meeting the first actor, Jaakko Ohtonen as Jesus Christ. Jaakko Ohtonen was born on August 25, 1989 in Oulu, Finland. He entered adulthood in a Nordic cultural context where public life tends to reward understatement and composure, traits that often translate well to screen acting that relies on stillness rather than constant dialogue. Ohtonen followed a clearly documented training path. He studied film acting at Pohjanmaa College, Tampere, in 2008-2009, then continued at the University of Tampere's Department of Acting, graduating with a master's degree in theater arts in 2015. This matters for casting because it signals a performer shaped by theater discipline, rehearsal rigor, body control, continuity across long scenes, but also explicitly trained in film acting, which is critical for a role where small choices, eyeline, breath, stillness carry the scene. After graduating, he worked as a freelance actor, including stage work with Finnish theaters such as Mary Magdalene from 2015, and appearances connected to major local productions. On television, his credits expanded through Finnish series work, including roles in projects such as All the Sins and other domestic productions as his profile grew. This period is important because it shows a standard, credible trajectory, training, stagecraft, TV series work, international crossover, rather than a sudden manufactured jump. By 2022-2025, Ohtonen's credits included internationally visible series such as Netflix's The Last Kingdom, final season, and Vikings, Valhalla, alongside Nordic productions. He was also set to appear in the Disney Plus historical drama To Cook a Bear, reported as a 2025 credit. From a casting standpoint, these titles indicate he can function inside large-scale period worlds, costume, physical continuity, historical tone, and the weight of playing to a cinematic frame without modern mannerisms. For the resurrection of the Christ, reporting indicated a full recast from the 2004 film, driven by practical production factors including the demands and cost of de-aging for a story set close to the crucifixion. Ohtonen was announced as the new Jesus in October 2025 and began filming in Italy that same month. Industry reporting also noted that the film is structured as two releases scheduled for March 26, 2027, Part 1, and May 6, 2027, Part 2. What makes Ohtonen a logical pick, based on the documented timeline, is not mystique, but fit. He has formal training, film plus theater, and a decade-long professional runway since graduating in 2015. He has credible experience in period historical productions that require disciplined physical acting. And he is not a fame-first celebrity, which helps audiences see the character first, especially in a role that viewers will scrutinize intensely. This is a casting effect, not a faith claim. Mariela Garriga as Mary Magdalene. Mariela Garriga was born on September 1, 1989, in Havana, Cuba. She grew up in a culturally rich but economically challenging environment, where her early life was shaped by family responsibilities and personal determination. From the age of 13, she began working in entertainment, appearing in television commercials and music videos, which marked the beginning of her performance career. Her early experiences included rigorous training with the Cuban Television Ballet, where she worked as a professional dancer for 3 years after proving her commitment and ability. In 2009, Garriga moved to Milan, Italy, after being scouted by a modeling agent. This transition was a key turning point. It introduced her to the international entertainment industry and exposed her to new cultural and artistic influences. While in Milan, she began formal acting training at the Michael Rogers Acting Studio. She later expanded her training by studying in New York City at the Terry Schreiber Studio and the Actors Studio, both respected institutions for method and screen acting. Garriga's professional acting work is marked by versatility and geographic breadth. Early on, she appeared in television series and films in Europe and the United States. Her credits include recurring roles on procedural series such as NCIS, Los Angeles, and Law & Order, Special Victims Unit, giving her exposure to mainstream American television audiences. She also appeared in genre films, including Bloodline 2018, a horror thriller produced by Blumhouse Productions, and Nightmare Cinema 2018, an anthology project featuring multiple directors. Her visibility increased significantly when she was cast as Marie in the globally distributed blockbuster Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 2023, opposite Tom Cruise. She then reprised this role in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning 2025, further solidifying her profile in major action cinema. Beyond film, Garriga has diversified her portfolio with lead and supporting roles in a range of international productions across Europe, the United States, and Latin America. For example, in 2025, she appeared in several feature films including When Nobody Sees Us, HBO Max, and Close to Me, as well as upcoming projects such as the espionage thriller Zeta for Amazon Prime. Her multilingual abilities, she is fluent in Spanish, English, and Italian, have enabled her to work across markets. In October 2025, it was announced that Garriga would play Mary Magdalene in The Resurrection of the Christ, Part 1, replacing the role originally portrayed by Monica Bellucci in the 2004 predecessor. Production began in Italy, with principal photography at Cinecittà Studios in Rome. Garriga's casting places her at the center of a major cinematic project scheduled for release in March 2027. Garriga's path to this role reflects a decade-long evolution from dance and early performance work in Cuba to internationally recognized film and television credits. Her linguistic range and cross-cultural experiences support her ability to navigate complex roles that require both physical presence and adaptability. Additionally, her work in high-profile franchises like Mission Impossible demonstrates her competence in large-scale productions, which is relevant for a film with global reach such as The Resurrection of the Christ. Kasia Smutniak as Mary, mother of Jesus. Kasia Smutniak was born on August 13, 1979, in Pila, Poland. She spent her early childhood in Poland before relocating to Italy as a teenager. This early transition between cultures shaped her adaptability and sense of personal discipline, traits that later became visible in her professional life. Before acting, Smutniak entered the public sphere through modeling, which brought her to Italy in the late 1990s. While modeling provided visibility, it was not her long-term goal. She soon shifted her focus toward acting, taking on small television and film roles in Italy. This period marked a gradual but deliberate move away from image-based work toward performance-driven roles. Smutniak developed her acting career primarily within Italian cinema and television, gaining recognition for her ability to convey emotional depth with restraint. Over the 2000s and 2010s, she appeared in a wide range of Italian productions, building a reputation as a serious dramatic actress rather than a commercial celebrity. Her international profile expanded with appearances in English-language films, including From Paris with Love, 2010, where she worked alongside John Travolta. This role demonstrated her ability to operate within large-scale international productions while maintaining a grounded, controlled screen presence. By the mid to late 2010s, Smutniak was widely regarded as one of the most respected actresses in contemporary Italian cinema. She received major industry recognition, including the David D. Donatello Award for Best Actress for Loro 2018, in which she portrayed Veronica Lario. This award confirmed her standing as an actress capable of subtle, psychologically complex performances. In addition to her film work, Smutniak has been involved in humanitarian and advocacy efforts, particularly in areas related to public health and social responsibility. While separate from her acting career, this aspect of her life reflects a consistent pattern of seriousness and personal accountability. When casting began for The Resurrection of the Christ, the role of Mary required an actress capable of expressing strength, grief, and endurance without reliance on extensive dialogue. Smutniak's career, defined by restraint, emotional control, and maturity, aligned closely with these requirements. Her selection was announced as part of the film's principal cast during pre-production in 2025, with filming taking place in Italy, including at Cinecittà Studios in Rome. The casting marked a significant moment in her career, placing her within one of the most closely watched biblical film projects of the decade. Chronologically, Smutniak's life and career demonstrate a clear progression toward roles of emotional and symbolic weight. Her background in both Italian and international cinema, combined with a performance style rooted in understatement, makes her a fitting choice to portray Mary not as a dramatic figure, but but as a steady and enduring presence within the resurrection narrative. Pier Luigi Pasino as Peter. Pier Luigi Pasino was born in Italy. Public sources do not consistently list a precise birth date. He grew up in a cultural environment where theater, literature, and classical storytelling are deeply embedded in education and public life. From an early age, he showed interest in performance and character work rather than commercial entertainment. Pasino pursued formal training in acting through Italy's traditional theatrical system, which emphasizes voice control, physical discipline, and textual interpretation. His education focused on stage performance, where actors are required to sustain character across long scenes and live audience engagement. This foundation later influenced his on-screen work, particularly in roles requiring emotional continuity and restraint. His early professional career was largely built in theater, where he developed a reputation as a reliable character actor. Stage work allowed Pasino to explore psychologically complex figures, often portraying men marked by inner conflict, moral struggle, or personal failure. These roles helped establish his strengths in portraying emotionally layered characters rather than heroic archetypes. Over time, Pasino expanded into Italian film and television, taking on supporting and character roles in historical dramas and contemporary narratives. While he did not pursue international stardom, his steady presence in Italian productions demonstrated consistency and professionalism. This phase of his career reinforced his ability to adapt theatrical discipline to the demands of film acting, including controlled expression and subtle physicality. When casting began for the resurrection of the Christ, the role of Peter required an actor capable of portraying contradiction, strength alongside guilt, leadership alongside failure. Pasino's career trajectory, marked by roles centered on moral tension and personal struggle, aligned naturally with this character profile. His selection as Peter was announced as part of the principal cast during pre-production in 2025, with filming taking place in Italy. The role positions Pasino within a narrative that focuses not on Peter's impulsive actions before the crucifixion, but on his state after the resurrection, defined by reflection, humility, and gradual restoration. Chronologically, Pasino's development from stage-trained actor to experienced screen performer explains his suitability for Peter. His background equips him to portray a disciple shaped by experience rather than idealism. In the resurrection of the Christ, Peter is not introduced as a hero, but as a man carrying memory and responsibility, an approach well matched to Pasino's professional strengths. Riccardo Scamarcio as Pontius Pilate. Riccardo Scamarcio was born on November 13, 1979, in Trani, Apulia, Italy. He grew up in southern Italy in a working and middle-class environment that emphasized practicality and resilience. His early years were not centered on cinema. Instead, his interests initially leaned toward sports, particularly basketball, before he gradually turned toward performance. Scamarcio moved to Rome as a young adult, where he enrolled at the Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia, Italy's most prestigious national film school. This formal training exposed him to classical acting techniques, script analysis, and disciplined screen performance. The experience marked a decisive shift from informal interest to a structured professional path in acting. Scamarcio gained national attention in the early 2000s through Italian television and film, particularly with youth-oriented dramas that quickly made him a recognizable face in Italy. Unlike many actors who remain tied to a single image, he deliberately diversified his roles, moving away from romantic leads toward more complex and morally ambiguous characters. Over the following decade, Scamarcio established himself as one of Italy's most consistent leading men. He worked with respected directors in films such as Romanzo Criminale, My Brother is an Only Child, and John Wick, Chapter 2, 2017, where he appeared alongside Keanu Reeves. These projects demonstrated his ability to function in both European auteur cinema and large-scale international productions. As his career matured, Scamarcio increasingly took on roles defined by authority, internal conflict, and moral tension. He portrayed politicians, criminals, and institutional figures, characters who operate within systems of power rather than emotional idealism. This phase of his career reinforced his reputation for controlled intensity and psychological realism rather than overt dramatization. When casting began for the resurrection of the Christ, the role of Pontius Pilate required an actor capable of projecting authority while revealing uncertainty beneath the surface. Scamarcio's career, marked by roles involving power, compromise, and consequence, aligned closely with these requirements. His selection places him in a different narrative position than in traditional passion portrayals. In a resurrection-focused film, Pilate appears not as an active decision-maker, but as a man living with the aftermath of his choices. Scamarcio's experience portraying restrained, conflicted figures makes him a practical fit for this interpretation. Chronologically, Scamarcio's progression from youthful stardom to seasoned dramatic actor explains his suitability for Pontius Pilate. His professional background equips him to portray institutional authority without exaggeration, allowing the character to function as a human figure shaped by political reality, rather than as a symbolic villain. In addition to the principal roles, the Resurrection of the Christ includes a supporting cast made up largely of experienced European actors, many of whom come from theater or serious dramatic film backgrounds, rather than mainstream Hollywood stardom. This approach reflects a consistent casting strategy focused on reliability, discipline, and historical credibility. One of the most notable supporting actors is Rupert Everett, whose involvement was announced without immediate disclosure of his specific role. Everett was born on May 29, 1959 in Burnham Deepdale, Norfolk, England, and trained at the Central School of Speech and Drama in London. His career spans decades across British theatre, European cinema, and Hollywood productions. Known for his articulate screen presence and experience portraying historical and intellectual figures, Everett brings professional maturity and gravitas to the ensemble. The remainder of the supporting cast consists primarily of actors from Italy and broader Europe, many with long-standing experience in historical dramas, stage productions, and period television series. Their careers typically follow a similar trajectory: formal training, years of theater or domestic television work, and gradual integration into larger international projects. This background is particularly relevant for a film rooted in historical and religious narrative, where credibility depends on controlled performance rather than spectacle. From a production standpoint, this ensemble-based casting minimizes distraction and maintains tonal consistency, rather than drawing attention to individual personalities. The supporting cast functions collectively to reinforce the historical setting and narrative seriousness of the resurrection story. This approach allows the central figures Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of Jesus, Peter, and Pilate to remain the narrative focus, supported by actors whose professionalism ensures continuity, realism, and restraint throughout the film. The Resurrection of the Christ represents a significant undertaking, not only because of its subject matter, but because of the people chosen to bring that story to the screen. The cast assembled for this project reflects a clear emphasis on experience, discipline, and professional maturity rather than celebrity appeal. Each actor, through a career built gradually over years of training, stage work, and serious film roles, arrives at this project prepared to handle material that carries historical and cultural weight. By examining the actors chronologically, where they were born, how they were raised, how their careers developed, and how they ultimately came to be part of this film, we gain a clearer understanding of why they were selected. Their paths suggest careful preparation rather than coincidence. These are performers accustomed to responsibility, restraint, and long-form storytelling, qualities essential for a film centered on the resurrection. There is hope that the Resurrection of the Christ will succeed not only as a cinematic project, but as a work that helps audiences better understand the meaning of the resurrection itself. If successful, the film may encourage viewers to reflect more deeply on faith, forgiveness, and renewal, and to turn toward God with greater clarity and humility. Ultimately, the lasting impact of the film will depend on how audiences receive it. Viewers are invited to form their own opinions about the casting, the performances, and the message, and to consider what the resurrection means in their own lives.